Hi, welcome to The Sit-In. My name is Martina Barksdale. I am the host. The Sit-In is a place where you ain't gotta get up. It's focused on marginalized communities, specifically Black people. Here you belong, here you are seen, and here you are heard. I have an amazing guest with me today, Joy Bolton-Berry, realtor at Commonwealth Real Estate Professional, as well as you have a radio show called The Joys and Lows of Relationships.
That's right.
So here we're going to be focusing on generational conversations. I know you have an event coming in the near future focused on conversations across generations. What are some of the struggles you see as far as communication between, me being a millennial and you being a boomer?
Yeah, I think that it seems like older people are believing that they are always right and that nothing has changed, and whatever they have learned, whatever they have been accustomed to thinking and believing and saying simply goes across the board forever. And that's not really the case, and so that's why we have this somewhat friction between generations in how they believe, how they think. And so I was saying that we have individuals that have always believed one thing and believe that it can continue throughout the years and it still stay relevant and stay truthful, and that's not really factual. So we have this somewhat friction between generations where we're not able to talk to each other.
Right.
And so once that happens, it breaks down for the next generation. So we need to build that back up and say that, okay, let's listen to one another, let's respect how we feel, and then try to understand why we feel what we feel, why we say what we say.
Right. What are some of the things that you've learned just culturally growing up, and you believe this one thing, but since there's more information out there, the world has changed.
Yes.
What is one of the things that you no longer believe that you did before?
Yeah, I am an advocate for women, particularly Black women.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of things that we grew up with about marriage, children, not necessarily getting an education, not being able to have a thought of our own has changed.
Right.
So I think, as you see in the world today, that women are absolutely, particularly Black women, are absolutely headed to the top. We are doing a lot more than other generations have done. So that's something that has changed. But yeah, that is something that I learned early on from my mother, my grandmother, great grandmother, where you just kind of saw them just being a homemaker and not really getting out into the world, learning things, educating themselves. And so now, it's full reign
Right.
for women. You have an opportunity to do whatever you want to do.
Yeah, we can do whatever we want to do. I'm going to
whatever
do
we wanna
whatever I
do.
want to know.
As it relates to education,
Yes.
religion, parenting, all of those topics, have changed from my great grandmother to now.
Right.
For me.
Yeah, I think I could definitely relate to that, because there's certain topics that were either taboo or you didn't talk about, or this is what it is.
That's
And what are some topics that you feel that have kind of shifted or changed?
The first thing came to my mind was our sexuality.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so the ability to be sexy in our own way, and that pertains to how we do our hair, how we do our makeup, what clothes we wear, what shoes we wear, where we wear a particular attire to.
Right.
All of that has changed, and I'm loving the fact that we are able to be free thinkers on how we see being sexy, how we see sex, how we see sexuality, how we see who we partner with.
Right.
All of that.
What advice would you give to, say, me, a millennial? So my mom's a baby boomer. She's the youngest of 8. So a lot of my aunts and uncles are boomers as well. And my mom might be a little bit more open to certain conversations and certain things that we can talk about. What advice would you give to me to have those open conversations that sometimes people in your generation and the generation before are not always open to having?
Yeah, I would just simply be free about what you're thinking. They may agree and may not agree. They absolutely have a right to believe what they believe, but you also have a right to stand firm in what you believe as well. I mean, there's all kind of stuff out there. Google is right at our hand,
Siri,
books, a lot of stuff. So it's not your responsibility to teach other people. I think it's their responsibility to at least want to get out there and learn some more information.
Right. What do you feel like the older generations can learn from younger generations and vice versa?
Times have changed.
Right.
Things are different. Everything that they did was not necessarily factual and correct, and that they made some mistakes. And that, to hold themselves accountable to those mistakes, and then go and be supportive to those that have said, yeah, that wasn't quite right. Let's do it this way.
Right.
So acknowledge, and then also continue to inspire and encourage.
Yes. One thing that popped into my mind, and I think you did a Facebook post about this, so I'm not sure. Yeah, the comments were on fire. One thing that I'm even shaping and I don't have children, but just discipline. The way I was raised is I got spankings, I got whoopings to a certain point, and then the discipline had to change because, when you're becoming a teenager, that does not work. And it sometimes doesn't work as younger.
Right.
And more studies are coming out saying that is not necessarily the best way to discipline your child as far as physically.
Yeah.
How do you feel like that? And has your perception of that changed?
Oh yeah, it definitely changed. I had 3 boys, and they're 6'8", 6'4", 6'1".
Yes.
So they're big boys. So spanking did not work
Right.
with them. And I did try it without the information that I have now. Grandchildren, whenever I get them, will never be spanked. I absolutely believe in the science that is coming out about how it affects a child's brain, how it affects how they learn, how it affects how they become adults and interact with other people. I just think from old school, it was really a survival tactic.
Yeah.
They spanked their kids to protect them, thinking that it was going to protect them. And then now, some of these people still have that mindset that spanking and hitting the child is going to protect them from the structures that are out there, police brutality, etc. Now, for me, I'm like, why would you spank your child against and thinking that it's going to protect them from police brutality? Why don't you attack police brutality?
Right.
Not the child. So yeah, we've got a long way to go.
Yes.
It's just something that is ingrained in our communities that is, the way to discipline children. We don't know anything. We don't have any alternatives.
Right.
So that's what we need to do is learn, some alternatives.
I think it just all circles back to learning and educating yourself and having knowledge to have these conversations and these tough conversations. What is something that you've learned from maybe a previous generation that you've taken, or from your mother or your grandmother that you've taken through in life? And also from someone, my age or younger?
Yeah, I think my mother, my grandmother were very strong women. I think they were hard workers, so I take that from them. Younger generations, you all are just absolutely free. I love the fact that you all are so firm in what you believe. You're not doing any harm to anyone.
Right.
You're just being yourselves. You're just, as I say, just being, capital B-E-I-N-G. You're just being, and you have the right to do that.
Right.
So that's what I learned from young people. You all are exploring some things. You all are doing a lot of things that are changing the world. So I have to keep my eye on y'all.
Well, one of the things that a lot of, older people tell us is that we don't stay at a job and we will leave in a heartbeat.
What's wrong with that?
That's how I feel. Like, if it does not serve you, why stay?
I think between 20 and 30, that's what you should be doing.
Yeah.
And that's just my opinion. I don't want to disrespect anyone who stays on a job or who decides to get married, decides to get children. I think between 20 and 30, that's what you should be doing, is exploring and trying to figure out what you want to do with your life. And if that means a job that is not serving you, is getting on your nerves, you don't want to go to it every morning, leave. Yes.
I feel better.
Yes.
Hear that?
You're welcome.
No, but also, what have you learned from maybe your mother or grandmother that you've taken with throughout your whole years? And life?
They're just, my grandmother kept the family together. My mother did the same thing. It's becoming difficult because I have cousins here in town that have their own families. Everybody's busy, but I'm trying to bring the family back together. I think that's important. There's no reason for an entire family to be in the same city within 15 minutes of each other and not see each other but maybe once or twice a year. So we're missing that matriarch, I guess, type thing that my mother and grandmother always, had. I'm trying, since I'm the older of all the cousins, I'm trying to bring that back and hopefully bring our family together.
Yeah, I think family dynamics across generations are changing, and I feel like we've had some mental health professionals on the show as well, and really trying to focus on repairing those relationships, because to be honest, within families, there's a lot of things that don't get talked about that might get shoved in the rug, and I think that has an influence. But I appreciate you wanting to rally together and bring family, because family is really all we got, and it doesn't have to be biological per se, but and I know you are a great person. You're active in the community, rallying behind people, bringing people together, whether it be an event or a conversation, going out for drinks. You're always down to do it and invite people. What are some ways, I know you are a great mentor. I think of you as a mentor in the community. What are some ways that people can get involved in more mentorship, and what improvements would you like to see?
Do the same thing that I'm doing, is just throw out the bait. Let's come, gather, get together. Those people who want to come, those people who are supposed to be there will be there. And then you take that opportunity to connect with women, no matter the age, no matter the race, no matter what they do, whatever. Just take the time to communicate with people and get to know each other.
Right.
And that's basically all I do. I love a good cocktail.
Yes.
And I'm going to have something, as a matter of fact, coming up Saturday. So you just throw it out. There's an opportunity for us to gather. Let's gather. I think the saying I put on there is, when women gather, great things happen. And so that's exactly what happens. Great things happen.
And what advice would you have to someone who's scared because they might not know anyone? They might have just moved back here. It's a tough transition, especially because here you really have to seek out like-minded individuals and collaborate or meet with them. If I'm scared and
Without a doubt. That's so true. That it's very difficult to connect. I would just say to the person, you have to take a risk sometime. And so, and for any event that I go to, no one is a stranger there. Everyone is welcome. And so I make a point to focus on an individual who I don't know, who I haven't talked to. I make sure I go to that person. I'm hoping that everyone else is the same. That we make that person feel comfortable, make them feel great and good that they decided to take that risk.
Yeah. What would you say to 7-year-old Joy?
I would say to 7-year-old Joy that I definitely should have been more focused on education. I would say to 7-year-old Joy that I should have been working, or I guess a 7-year-old, I don't know how you would voice the fact that I don't have any confidence, because at 7 years old I didn't. I was super skinny. I was the only girl in the family. There were some things that I was disconnected from. So if I could go back and change that, I'm hoping that I would be more vocal. And so in order to do that, I would have hoped my mother, grandparents, would have been able to see some things and to allow me to be more vocal.
Right.
So I'm hoping that in your generations, that when you have children, that you look for that you give a 7-year-old an opportunity to be vocal. Yes, you're the parent, but you're not the owner of this child. Allow this child to be vocal.
What happened in life? What was a life-altering moment for you where you found your voice?
Divorce. 2011, February. I'll never forget it.
You never forget it?
Never forget it. And so it was a very, very hard time for me. Very, it was very painful. And what happened was that I decided to go to Zumba classes, which I didn't know anyone, took a risk, met some beautiful women who had great marriages and who had failed marriages. We had these conversations, we connected, and that's where the confidence came from. I found my voice among women, and that's, after that it's been.
I think it's a lot to say, to find your voice while being alone.
Yeah. Prayer. Definitely formed a beautiful relationship with God. I don't know how anyone can exist without that type of relationship, and that's That's where it came from. I was in constant prayer. It was a lot of pain. It was the right thing to do, but it was a lot of pain. And so I look at that experience as, a teaching moment for me. I've learned a lot about relationships, and I've learned a lot about pain, but it was something now that catapulted me to a whole different mindset.
Right.
I love me.
That's a word.
I love me.
That's a word.
Period.
I love me. Period, poo.
I love me.
Yeah. Just to wrap it up, what would you like to leave us with and everyone watching?
Continue doing what you're doing. Yeah, these ideas that you have, don't let anyone steer you, because you feel it. I know you felt in your gut that this was something that was going to be good. So follow that. It doesn't matter if 10 people said yes and 10 people said no. You follow yourself. And then other people who are supposed to be there will gather. So continue doing this. Continue having conversations. That's the first step. We haven't been doing that in our communities. We haven't been doing that in our families. We haven't been doing that in our culture, having conversations. So that's a beginning. Just keep doing what you all are doing.
You keep doing what you're doing. Conversations across generations. I really appreciate you sitting down with me and taking time out of your busy schedule. Make sure you all tune in to Lexington Community Radio. It's the joys and lows of relationships, and she's also a real estate agent. So
that's right.
If you're looking for your next home, we're plugging everybody that we need to on the show. So this has been the sit-in where you ain't got to get up. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Perry Ave, where we shoot the show here in our community in the East End area. On North Limestone. So make sure you check out the sit-in where here you belong, here you are seen, here you are heard. I'm Martina Barksdale, checking out.